Hello and welcome. My name is Naseem. In last video, we tried to understand how we can make quick automation workflow to automate Excel. So if I go back to the last flow, this is what we have developed. We were trying to understand how we can read an Excel file which is situated somewhere in SharePoint. So as you can see here in this workflow, this is an SharePoint folder we have. Under documents, we have project 1, and under project 1 folder, we have test Excel file. So this is the Excel file we have here. So documents, project 1, and if I open this Excel file, it will have some rows for us. And what we are trying to, do, we are just trying to read this Excel file. So if I go back to the historical run of this, flow, which I just run a few minutes ago, this is what we are getting as a output of this activity. So if I click to see the output, which is written by this activity, you will see something very textual format. You will see some sort of text data here. If you come from a background which is nothing to do with the software development or any programming language, you will be in a miserable condition to understand it. So if you are a person who don't have any prior experience on development, software development, or any programming language, it would be very hard for you to understand. And in this video, I will try to help you to understand this data and how to deal with this data. Power Automate actually read and write all of the data in a JSON format. So what this Power Flow is actually doing, it is just converting this data when it is reading it into a JSON format. So let me try to walk you through what is JSON data actually is. Before really going to understand this data, I would like to explain you how we can understand the JSON and what is actually JSON all about. To understand the JSON data, let's consider a very simple, use case. So if we have a class, we are actually talking about some class under a college or a school, and in that class we have number of students under it, and we want to collect the data of those students, the first name and the last name. These are the data fields we want to collect for each student under a class. So let me go ahead and mention this class name as well. So this is a class 1, for example, and again this class 1 is under a school, and let me just go ahead and mention the school name as well. Let's call it St. Louis International School. So this is the name of the school. Under this school we have class 1, and under this class we have few students. So currently, for our understanding purpose, I am actually taking only 2 students. There might have different classes as well. So this is class 1, this might be a class 2, right? So if I go ahead and delete the class 1 from here, it would be class 2. So this is the simplest case we are actually taking to understand what is actually JSON. So in a single line, JSON is the JavaScript object notation. So JSON is a widely used data format most of the software programmers use, and JSON is actually used to define a specific data set in the form of key and value. So if let's talk about the one student here, let me pick a notepad here. If we are talking about a single student, how we can define this data point for a single student. So every time if we are talking about the JSON, curly brackets will be used to define a single data point. And if we are talking about the student 1, I mean the first student, and we are collecting 2 data, 2 fields related to that student. So this is how we will define the data. So the first, we will define the key, and for a student, because we are collecting first name and the last name, so key would be the first name. And for example, this first name is a John, so this would be the value of first name key, right? And under the same object, we are collecting another data point as well, I mean another field of the same data point, which is last name. So again, key and value. What is the key? Key is the last name here, and max is the value. So this is the this is how we can define JSON object for a given data point. So this student would be the data point here, and under this data point we are collecting 2 fields like first name and the last name. first name of this data point is John and the last name of this data point is Max. Now at the same time, in the same class, I want to collect the another student data as well. How we can do it? Just copy this, separate it by comma and paste it. And this time also the key is the first name and the last name. So how we can, the first name of the second student in the same class is what it is? It would be Mark, right? This one. And the last name would be the Wells. This is the simplest form of Java object notation. Now Java JSON data will be defined in two ways: when we have single data point and we have list of the data points. When we have same data, when we have multiple data, when we have multiple data points containing the same key under it, we call it JSON list. And when it comes to JSON list, we will define it by using curly brackets. So it will be contained under two curly brackets, right? So this is how it's a JSON list now. And this list is actually containing data of two students of a specific class. Now if I want to, what if I want to collect the class name as well? Here it is class 1. So what I can do, I can just define the key, and this key value would be class 1. By doing this, what I am actually talking about, under class 1 we have two students and we are collecting two fields of each student, the first name and the last name. And when it is related to class 1, again it would be contained by curly brackets, right? This is how we have collected the two students data under class 1. What if we want to collect the class 2 data? Again the same, just copy it, separate it by comma and paste it. Under it would be class 2 now, right? And the first name would be, for example, X, and the last name would be Y. I'm actually considering some example here. And the first name of another student under class 2 is M, and the last name is, for example, N. This is how we have collected two classes data. Now again, there is again a list, because two curly brackets separated by one comma, again two curly brackets separated by one comma. If we want to convert it as a perfect JSON data, because it's again a list, so we will contain it. Currently it is having only two classes data, but what if we are having 1,000 classes data, right? It would be very, very tough to understand the data, because we are getting, so this would be very tough if we are getting 1,000 classes data here in this list. In the same way, we are getting this data responded by Power Automate activity. This is very tough to understand. To deal and to understand large set of data, or output of the Power Automate activity, we have very simple tool here. So just go and browse this one, JSONEditorOnline.org. This is the free tool. It's an online tool, and this tool will be used to help to understand the JSON data which we are receiving from Power Automate activities, right? How we can try to understand it. So let's go back to our our data which we have created. Let's copy it and paste it here. Before pasting, click new. Once copy, just go here. I'm actually this is the data. So this tool, this online tool, is actually helping us to try to understand the text data into a specific branches. So this whole data is containing two different items. And what are the items? Class 1 and class 2. These are the items, right? So if I open it, we will get this two classes data. So these two data we are getting, and these are situated at index 0 and 1. If I open at what is the data under index 0, so index 0 is actually containing class 1, and under class again we have two items. This one from here to here. So this must be the data contained. So if I again expand it, again we are getting two different items under class 1, again situated at index 0 and 1. So if I open index 0, the first name and the last name, and if I open index 1, first name and the last name. This is how this online tool will help us to understand bulky text data in a specific format. Now it's all about the JSON, how we can deal with the JSON and what is JSON is all about. Now go back to the flow and the data written by this activity. Now this activity, what it is doing, it is just going back to this Excel file and reading these two rows. And as a return, it is giving us this bulky data. Now again, we will copy it and go back to this tool and delete it and paste it. And again, we will just do this, right? Now in here, the whole data is actually, have three different key in it. What is the first key? The first key is the status code, which is 200. The second key is the header, and under this key we have different 16 properties, I mean again keys, and the third key is the body, right? All of the activities which we are using in Power Automate will have these two keys under the data written by them, and we are not worrying about it. What we are actually looking for is the body, I mean the data under body. So if I expand it, again we will have three different categories, I mean two keys under it. What is the first key? It is the first key, odata.context. We are not talking about, we are not worrying about it. What we are looking for under body is the value. The value is again contain two items, right? If I expand it, it will contain the odata internal, sorry, the two values, two item. It will contain the item which is situated at index 0 and the situated at index 1. If I specifically talk about the index 1 or the index 0, it is again have 6 different properties under it, I mean the keys under it. What is the 6 different keys? The odata, item internal ID, CL number, first name, last name, and contact number. If you see the data which we are having under in our on our Excel file, give me a minute, two different items under it, under value. And if I open the first item, it has odata.etag internal ID. This is some values we are not talking about, but what we are looking for is this serial number, first name, last name, and contact number. So serial number, first name, last name, and contact number. So under value, the item situated at index 0 would be the item of row 1, and the item situated at index 1 would be the item at row 2. So again, if I see serial number, first name, last name, and contact number under index 1, it is nothing but the row 2 data. So this is what all about JSON file, and this is how we can get its help to understand the data written by different activities of Power Automate. Let's try to understand couple of things as well. So how we can access or we can get the value of row 2 under last name. So I want to make a logic in Power Automate to get this value, I mean row 2 value under last name. Let's move it, and to do it we can use one activity which is called compose. I often use it to test my results. This compose activity will work as a print activity, so we can print it. If I go back to this one, this is the data, and we were looking for the values under body and values. So the very first thing we will try to access the body or the value parameter. We are looking for under body and the values, so I want to access all of the item under values, right? How we can do it? So just go and search for the value. This is the parameter of this activity. I am looking for the value, so let's keep it. If I print it, it will only print the data under value column. I mean this is the only data it will print, only this data which I have selected right now, because this is under value, right? So let's wait for it to run. It ran successfully. If I expand it, this is the only data we are getting as an output of this act. Now if I cut it, I'm actually trying to explain you how you can do it. So this is how we are trying to access all of the items under body and value parameter of this JSON. Now do this one, go back, go to the expression, paste it. Now by doing this, by writing this line of codes, what we are doing, we are just going into the output of this activity. And question mark, so question mark is just sort of asking for the address. So after going to this, we are going to body and then value, and this is what we are doing. We are going to body and then value, and after going to the body and the value, we are going to the which index item, either the 1 or the 0. So 0 index will redirect you to the row 1, and the index 1 will redirect to you the row 2. And as we are trying to get the row 2 data, this is how we can do it. So after body and value, write this question mark and write the index value. So 0 for the row 1 and 1 for the row 2. We are trying to look for the row 2. Now by doing this, we have gone till this step. We are just came here. Now I want to get out the value under last name. This is what we need to do. So after going to index 0 item, question mark again, and write down the property. And what is the property? It is a last name. There should not be any spelling mistake under it, and just OK it. And if I run it, it will get out the data under last name of row 2. What is the data under last name of row 2? It is Ahmed. It is actually getting out the Ahmed for us, right? If you want to look for another value, let's say first name, this is how you can do it. So go back, first name, and not for the row 2 but the row 1. What you have to do, just write replace 1 by 0 and update it. And this time we are going for the first name under row 1. So this time it should be Alex, right? Let's run it. This is Alex. So this is how we can deal with the data represented by different activities under Power Automate, and this is how we can access different values of a given JSON out. I hope you understood how we can deal with the JSON, and from now on you will be more comfortable to deal with the JSON data. Have a great day, and I will see you in next video.